Back on July 6th of 2024, a 36-year-old black woman by the name of Sonya Massey called Springfield deputies to her house as she was scared that there was someone lurking outside her premises. And how did that night end? With Sonya Massey dead. And social media erupted in outrage yet again as another black individual was killed by police. And on the surface, it appears to be unjustified. It appears that the police officer did much more than he was supposed to do, or he could have handled the situation in an alternative manner. So the usual race baiters, the call for racism being the motive for why she was shot, why she was killed, has been the narrative that has been circulating social media for the past couple weeks. Well, the body cam footage wasn't released at that point, but yesterday it was. And the body cam footage revealed the gruesome video that I'm going to show you guys, so just be prepared, of Sonya Massey being shot after cops went in her house and felt threatened by a pot of boiling water that she had on the stove. And they shot her after they told her to put it down, and she apologized, appearing that they shot her in bad faith. Let's take a look at the video.
You have an ID? That'd make things so much easier. I just driver's license will do, and then I'll get out of your hair.
I want to show y'all my paperwork.
I will look at your paperwork.
What paperwork?
Okay. I got some paperwork.
Well, just get your ID real quick.
Well, let's get your ID first, and then...
One task at a time here.
Okay.
Here, grab your ID for me.
Okay.
Your ID. One task at a time. So let's do an ID, and then you can dig around for your paperwork.
I don't know where my ID is.
You see that stack right there, maybe?
Okay. 1 second.
Just check on her.
Let me get this.
We don't need a fire while we're here.
Right. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Where you going?
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Better fucking not. I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you right in your fucking face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the fucking pot! Drop the fucking pot! Drop the fucking pot!
18 shots fired.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Drop the fucking pot! Bring EMS now. We got a headshot wound to the female. Headshot wound to the female. 1078. Fuck.
I was on. I'm gonna go get my kit.
No, headshot, dude. She's done. You can go get it, but that's a headshot. God damn it.
God, fuck.
So that was the body cam footage. Now, every time there's an occurrence of a police shooting a black individual, I try to remain as rational and objective as possible, because naturally the human biases will take over. It's an extremely emotional occurrence for most people, especially those that believe that the cops are racist and they're just out here hunting black people, offing black people simply for their pleasure because they hate black people. I try to remain rational, I try to remain objective, and I try to give most occurrences the benefit of the doubt until I can at least scrutinize it a bit more, examine what actually occurred. Now, on its surface, this does appear to be an unjustified overreaction, but there was another clip that was released. But before we go to that clip, I just want to explain to you guys so you guys get a more thorough understanding of what actually transpired going on with this whole case between Sonya Massey and the deputy that shot her, because he is currently been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. Body cam video reveals chaotic scene of deputy fatally shooting Sonya Massey, who called 911 for help. Sonya Massey ducked and apologized to an Illinois sheriff's deputy seconds before he shot the black woman 3 times in her home, with 1 fatal blow to the head as seen in the body camera video released Monday. An Illinois grand jury indicted former Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson, 30, who was white, last week. He has pleaded not guilty to charges of first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official conduct. The video confirmed prosecutors' earlier account of the tense moment when Grayson yelled from across the counter at Massey to set down a pot of hot water. He threatened to shoot her. Massey ducked, briefly rose, and Grayson fired his pistol at her. Authorities said Massey, 36, had called 911 earlier to report a suspected prowler. The video shows the 2 deputies responded just before 1 a.m. on July 6 at her home in Springfield, 200 miles southwest of Chicago. They first walked around the house and found a black SUV with broken windows in the driveway. It took Massey 3 minutes to open the door after deputies knocked, and she immediately said, "Don't hurt me." She seemed confused as they spoke at the door, and then she repeated that she needed help, referenced God, and told them that she didn't know who owned the car. Inside the house, deputies seemed exasperated as she sat on the couch and went through her purse as they asked for identification to complete a report before leaving. Then Grayson pointed out a pot sitting on a flame on the stove. "We don't need a fire while we're here," he said. Massey immediately got up and went over to the stove, moving the pot near a sink. She and Grayson seemed to share a laugh over her pan of steaming hot water before she unexpectedly said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." "You better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you in the face." He then pulls a 9mm pistol and demanded she drop the pot. Massey responds, "Okay, I'm sorry." In Grayson's body cam footage, he pointed his weapon at her. She ducked and raised her hands. Grayson was still in the living room facing Massey and separated by a counter dividing the living room and the kitchen. Prosecutors have said the separation allowed Grayson both distance and relative cover from Massey and the pot of hot water. After Grayson shot her, Grayson discouraged his partner from grabbing a medical kit to save her. "You can go get it, but that's a headshot," he said. "There's nothing you can do, man." He added, "What else can we do? I'm not taking hot boiling water to the face." Noting that Massey was still breathing, he relented and said that he would get his kit too. The other deputy said, "We can at least try to stop the bleeding." Grayson told responding police, "She had boiling water and came at me with boiling water. She said that she was going to rebuke me in the name of Jesus and came at me with boiling water." During a Monday afternoon news conference, the family's lawyer, civil rights attorney Ben Crump, and Grayson's revisionist justification disingenuous. "She needed a helping hand. She did not need a bullet to the face," Crump said of Massey. Asked why Massey told Grayson, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," Crump said she had undergone treatment for mental health issues. He noted that she invoked God's name from the beginning of the encounter and asked for her Bible after the deputy stepped inside. During Massey's funeral on Friday, Crump said the video, which he and the family had already viewed, would shock the conscience of America. Massey's father, James Wilburn, demanded the county court system be completely open in its investigation and prosecution and transparent with the public. "The only time I will see my baby again is when I leave this world," Wilburn said. "And I don't ever want anybody else in the United States to join this league." Grayson, who was fired last week, is being held in the Sangamon County Jail without bond. If convicted, he faces prison sentences of 45 years to life for murder, 6 to 30 years for battery, and 2 to 5 years for misconduct. His lawyer, Daniel Fultz, declined to comment Monday. In a statement, President Joe Biden said he and First Lady Jill Biden were praying for Massey's family as they face this unthinkable and senseless loss. "We can call for help. All of us as Americans, regardless of who we are or where we live, should be able to do so without fearing for our lives." Sonya's death at the hands of a responding officer reminds us that all too often Black Americans face fears for their safety in ways many of the rest of us do not. Massey's death is the latest example of Black people killed in recent years by police in their homes. So I try to be as objective as possible when it comes to these occurrences. And no matter what the media tries to perpetrate or propagate, the reality is 99% of police Black individual interactions go without harm, happen without anyone being shot or dying. These are very rare instances where a cop will fear for his life and will act out of fear. Now, I reviewed the film and I'm going to play it for you guys. I slowed it down so we can actually see what happened with regards to her coming at him with a boiling pot of water. Did she try to throw it on him? Was there an attempt to throw it on him? Or was she really innocent and did she really surrender her hands? Now you guys will notice when we go back to the video, in the frame you can't see her behind his arm, so we can't see what she actually did. We seen her duck when they say get down and she apologized as she disappears out of sight, but then we see him back up and she appears again, which means she did something when she popped back up, which warranted him shooting her. Now we can make the argument it's a pot of boiling water. It won't. Well, a pot of boiling water can do a lot of damage. It can cause disfigurement, third-degree burns, and it can kill you if you have complications from the burns that it causes. So there's definitely plausible fear there, which is what many people seem to be missing, as they always miss in these controversial cases, that there's almost always plausible fear. It's almost always a justifiable reason why the cop lets off a shot. And this is why the cops actually end up getting off, not because the system is racist and they don't want to put cops in jail and the cops are the biggest gang in the world who just want to hunt Black people down and kill Black people just to see Black people die, just because, when, as I said, most of the time most police interactions with criminals are with black people, and the majority of the time, no one ends up dead or hurt. So let's take a look at the clip in slow motion to see what actually happened that we couldn't see at its regular frame speed. Okay, so as you guys can see there, looks like she tosses the pot of water at him, and the water lands on the floor right there. I slowed it down a little more. She rises up, there's the pot. She tosses the pot at him. So you guys can see that she does throw the pot of water at him. This is indisputable. She throws the pot of water at him, boiling hot water, and you can see when I slow it down a little more, it lands in front of him right there. Right there. So she throws it at him. Now we often forget, because we often are biased towards black individuals as black people, that cops are human beings too, and just because they're white doesn't make them any less of human beings. They still exhibit fear. They still have fear-induced moments and reactions to stimuli that elicit those fear-based reactions. And if someone is about to throw a pot of hot boiling water on you, what would you do in that instance? People, why didn't he tase her? It's a pot of boiling hot water. The immediate threat was that if it hits him, his life could be in jeopardy as well. He could sustain life-threatening injuries if he got scalded by a pot of boiling hot water. So do you take that chance? Do you take that chance because you didn't sit back and assess in a split second the negative ramifications of your actions, or what's going to be the public's perception of you as an officer shooting a black woman who threw a pot of boiling hot water on you? Their opinions are going to be, you didn't have to shoot her. You could have did X, Y, Z. There was an alternative method you could have used in this situation. And I did see that, you know, the sheriff's department fired him because they said he didn't operate within the standards or the protocols of what could have been done. But was that immediately after, or did they go through a thorough examination and investigation of what occurred to realize that she actually threw the pot of boiling hot water at him, which warranted him shooting her? Because I'm not so sure that they did. I'm not so sure that in this situation, how many cops would have not shot her? Even a black cop. That's the better question. You know, it's unfortunate that these things happen, and it's unfortunate that we lose individuals in these rare instances like this to these acts of gun violence by cops. And I don't mean to frame it as gun violence, but I really don't know how else to put it. It's gun violence. It's being shot. You being shot at and you getting shot. So it's violence with a gun. But is it inevitable? Is it unavoidable? In these split-second situations where these cops have to make a decision, me or you, they're going to choose themselves. They're trying to get back home to their families as well. They're not thinking about if you have a family, because you apparently aren't thinking about the fact that you have a family when you attempt to do something to a cop and it results in you being shot and possibly killed. We could also make the case as to why she didn't comply when he said put the pot down, or what made her get back up and throw the pot on him after she appeared to give a false surrender. We could ask all these questions because all these questions need answers. It's a sequence of events that leads to the outcome that we have now. And a lot of times when we're assessing these occurrences, we got to be able to take our emotions out of the situation and try to see it from both perspectives. Why didn't the woman listen? Why didn't she adhere to the directions that she was given? Or if she did, what prompted her to go back and attempt to throw the pot of boiling hot water at the officer? Now, they said she suffered from mental health issues. I've even seen on X that she may be schizophrenic. If this is the case, and these cops were not aware of this to begin with, then, I mean, it's just, yet again, unfortunate. There's not much you can do in these situations. These are split-second decisions, as I said, you or me. And a cop is almost certainly always going to choose himself, because cops don't go on duty to get scalded by hot water, to get stabbed, to get beat up, to get hit with a baseball bat, or to get shot. They serve and protect, but they also eliminate when they have to, because they have to serve and protect themselves as well as the community. We often forget that. Their job is to serve and protect themselves as well as the community, because if they get eliminated in the process, if they're murdered on the job of serving and protecting, because they failed to serve and protect themselves first so that they can continue to serve and protect the community, then they've ultimately failed altogether anyway. I don't cry racism every time these things happen, because I know there's a reason outside of racism why it happened. The motive is rarely ever the cop is racist and just wants to kill a black person. The cop is typically trying to survive. The cop is typically trying to get back home. And if that means the cop has to kill an individual in order to do so, because that's the only way he sees fit in that split-second decision, then that's what he's going to do. And as I said, it's just unfortunate, but it happens. That's why cops give people orders. That's why they give them directions, so that it doesn't come to that, so you can avoid being shot. That is the whole point of a cop telling you, do X, Y, Z. Don't touch that. Don't make that move. That's the point, because he's warning you that if you do that, that gives him justification to pull out his gun and potentially shoot you if he perceives that what you're doing is a threat to his life. It's not complicated. And I don't give a fuck who doesn't like it or how strongly you feel about it, how averse you are to cops when it comes to cops and black interactions. This is the reality. Because they don't have to adhere to what the public thinks they should do when it comes to them, and they're the ones in these immediate situations. They operate on the whim of their emotions in the moment and their judgment of what calls for what. And they'll deal with the consequences after the fact. But at least they'll be dealing with the consequences while they're alive. And as a black person, if you want to stay alive, when it comes to interacting with a cop, you might want to listen. That way, you won't end up in a body bag.